The Coinbase direct listing is expected to be one of the most anticipated events in the stock market up until now in 2021. And in this video, we're going to be talking about newly released financial data from the company pertaining to their financial results for full year 2019, full year 2020, and the first quarter of 2021. We're going to take this nice and slowly, as this may be one of the craziest companies from a net income margin perspective that I have ever seen in the history of the stock market. In this video, we're going to go through all of this, where I expect them to open at when they do go through with their direct listing, and lastly, what I'm doing with this stock. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comment section what you're doing with this stock. When we look at a revenue perspective, we'll see that this is a company growing at a massive clip. In 2019, they had right around $482 million in total revenue. In 2020, this over doubled to 1.14 million, right? Then we factor in other revenues and we still get over that double, right? In 2019, we had a little over 500 million, and in 2020, we had $1.27 billion in total revenue. Now, although this is phenomenal, and alone, this would be great for Coinbase, what really makes this company special and what really draws your attention to it is its net income margin. You see a lot of companies like C3AI or DocuSign or potentially like a Snowflake trading at massive valuations, although they are unprofitable. Coinbase, on the other hand, made $322 million in net income for full year 2020. I want you guys to think, to all of these different growth stocks that we see in the stock market, and think, how many of these are really profitable? And if they are profitable, how many of them are really growing at, 40, 50, 60, or even doubling their revenues every single year? You probably can't really name any, right? Coinbase comes out and says, you know what? We not only over doubled our revenues, we also did $322 million in net income. Now, why is this special? Because this implies a 25.2% net income margin. Some of the best software companies out there can potentially get 30% net income margins. Coinbase, a company still in its early stages, obviously growing in a massive way, not only managed to double its revenues, but maintain a 25.2% net income margin. When we look at this, they generated this massive revenue growth by only spending right around $50 million in advertising, right? They spent on general and administrative expenses right around $279 million, technology and development $271 million, transaction expenses $135 million. Man, this is a company that has just everything going for it. They're making money hand over fist right now. You don't see many companies growing at such a massive clip and making so much money. Now, aside from all of this, let's take a look at their diluted earnings per share. Currently, this sits right around $1.40. Their current stock price in the private markets sat around right around like $343 per share. I believe this was right around a $60 to $70 billion market cap, non-diluted, but when we factor in these diluted shares, that goes up to a $100 billion valuation. But anyways, using 2020 numbers, we get a price to earnings ratio of 245. Pretty dang significant, right? So obviously this is a company growing at a massive clip. It's a very profitable company. They're not spending much on this growth. It's pretty much coming organically. That is why the stock's trading at such a rich valuation. Now, we just looked at 2020 revenue, right? 1.14 or $1.27 billion in total revenue. They also released their Q1 2021 data, and when I looked at this, my mind just kind of, I thought I was off, right? I read this number, and when you look at it, you think it's a typo. Here's why. Remember this number. In 2020, $1.27 billion in revenue. In total revenue throughout the entire year. For the first quarter of 2021, Coinbase did $1.8 billion in revenue. $1.8 billion in revenue in 3 months. Over, 50% or, over 40% more than they did in all of 2020. Guys, this is massive. And not only did they grow revenues in such a massive, massive way, but their net income margin also went up. They did $750 million in net income in just Q1 of 2021, over double what they did in all of 2020. Their net income margin for the first quarter of 2021 is now 41.6%. I cannot think of any or many companies out there that have net income margins at over 40%. But guess what, guys? Coinbase, the company growing massively in the cryptocurrency space, managed to do it. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to take these numbers and kind of take a look at where Coinbase could be valued at from a market cap perspective when it does open up on its direct listing, looking out to April 16th. So, okay. The first thing I want to touch on here, we generally can't really take this $1.8 billion in revenue and multiply it by 4 quarters, and there's our 2021 earnings results. Why? Because the first quarter of 2021 was almost peak hype when it comes to cryptocurrencies. It was almost like everyone was getting into them. Tesla comes out, says, all right, you can purchase cars with Bitcoin. Everyone's getting cryptocurrencies account. And just generally there was a lot of talk about cryptocurrencies throughout these 3 months, the first 3 months of 2021. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go very conservative and almost bearish with these numbers. And I'm going to say, all right, we had a peak quarter for Coinbase here because of this, right? In Q4 of 2020, they did $585 million in revenue, and boom, that literally triples going into quarter one to over $1.8 billion in revenue. I'm gonna assume, again, being very bearish here, and you're gonna see why I'm being bearish. I'm gonna say, all right, we're gonna do $900 million in revenue in Q2. We're gonna do $900 million in revenue in Q3. We're gonna do $900 million in revenue in Q4. That gets us $4.5 billion in revenue for the full year 2021. Now, we're going to use a profit margin of 35%. This is lower than what they just reported, a little higher than what they said for the full year of 2020. They are saying they're going to raise their total spending on advertisements and marketing throughout the year by around 3 to 4x to closer to 10% of their total revenue. I'm assuming that'll take a bit of a hit on that net income margin, and we'll get the 35%. That means net income of $1.6 billion. Apply a PE ratio of 150. Keep in mind they're trading at a PE ratio of 275 currently, and you get a $236 billion company. We just used bearish numbers. We said, all right, revenue is going to get cut in half from what it was in Q1 for the rest of the year, and we're not going to grow. We're going to imply that profit margins decline. We're going to get, that net income margin, and the PE ratio is going to get cut in half. And we still get a $236 billion company. If that happens, that, makes them one of the largest companies in the world. Despite all of this bearish pricing in of growth. Now, what could happen is that investors see these numbers and automatically think to themselves, all right, you know what? They had $1.8 billion in revenue for Q1. Let's just multiply that by 4. Let's see what happens in this situation, guys. And I'm shaking here. $1.8 billion for the full 4 years. 2021 revenue of $7.2 billion. A profit margin still at 35%. Net income of $2.5 billion. A P ratio of 150 gets us a market cap of $380 billion. That's still assuming that PE ratio stays at 150, which is significantly lower than it was just a few months ago before it experienced this incredible growth. And I'm going to go back here. Remember, as of 2020, they were trading at around a 245 price to earnings ratio. Imagine if they maintain this PE ratio. This is absolutely crazy, guys. When you think about this, now, will Coinbase be a $600 billion company? Probably not. But could I see this thing, potentially trading at, right around $150, $200 billion valuation when it eventually does go through with its direct listing? It very well could. And here's a bit of a median case, right? Revenue takes a bit of a breather going into the year. Profit margins decline, potentially to 33%. You still get a $180 billion company, guys. Coinbase may direct list and may become one of the biggest companies in the world. And I was saving this video for tomorrow, but just after looking at this data, I really want to let you guys know, if you're planning to invest in a Coinbase, don't buy into the hype. Take a look at the numbers, take a look at your future expectations with the company, and judge off of that. Because, Coinbase could very well IPO at a $600 billion valuation if investors look at the peak profitability, at the peak growth that they're experiencing currently. Will that happen? I hope not, because I feel like there's not too much money to be made if it does eventually IPO at that $600 billion valuation. But, could I see this thing IPOing at $150, $200 billion valuation? I very well could. Now, last thing I want to touch on is what I am doing. I need to take a deeper look into Coinbase, their fundamentals, and to really get an idea of, just generally speaking, the opportunity that I see there long term. If this thing IPOs at a $200 billion, $150 billion valuation, I can take that number, plug it into my model, which I will make over time, and I can just see the, potential rate of return that I will get. Currently though, Voyager Digital, another company, is one of my biggest positions, making up right around 50% of my portfolio. I know that's bad diversification, but I really believe in the company. It's just grown into that portfolio allocation. But given these profit margins that we're seeing with Coinbase, a company like Voyager, which is another, cryptocurrency trading platform, looking at this, I could very well see them having 35, 40% profit margins over the long term. So, just generally speaking, this Coinbase IPO is very bullish, not just for the cryptocurrency market as a whole, but a lot of cryptocurrency stocks. So I would not be surprised to see Voyager Digital up in a massive way tomorrow, just judging by this profitability that we're seeing from Coinbase. I haven't seen a company this profitable ever in my entire time in the stock market. I have not seen a company with 42% net income margins. This is unheard of. And, just generally speaking, I'm really looking forward to this direct listing on April 16th. I think things will get crazy. Prepare yourselves for more videos on Coinbase leading up to this event, as I really do believe that it is a company really transforming the whole cryptocurrency market. And, in my opinion, Coinbase is the face of the crypto market, right? You have Bitcoin, but then the face of the crypto market, in my opinion, is Coinbase. And judging on these numbers here, I could see this being the biggest direct listing or the biggest IPO in stock market history. So anyways, guys, if you appreciate this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're new. This is absolutely crazy. Let me know what your plans are with Voyager in the comment section down below. If you're buying, selling on IPO day, absolutely crazy. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.